Hi and welcome friends. If this is your first time here, my name is Tiffany and I'm the International Witch. Today I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I read in November, as well as getting my journal set up for December. I realized going into this video that I've never taken the time to explain my rating system, so I actually made some printables that you can get on the website, and I'm just going to go through them real quick so that whenever I make a rating, you understand how I got there. Starting with my star rating guide, a 5-star is an excellent book that I would recommend. A 4-star is a book that I thought would be a 3, but I was pleasantly surprised. Or I thought it was going to be a 5-star, but there was just something about it that knocked it down. 3-star is obviously in the middle. I didn't like it or hate it. Ultimately, the book was very forgettable. A 2-star is I really had to fight to finish this book. I did finish it, but I was miserable. And a 1-star is I did not finish. I have to say I rarely DNF a book, but if I do, it's definitely getting the 1-star. And then over to the spice rating, a 1 chili pepper is anything that's closed door or fade to black. A 2 chili pepper is only 1, maybe 2 sex scenes, and they're very vanilla. 3 chili peppers is there's multiple sex scenes, but all the sex is very vanilla. 4 is where you get your kinks, but it's still about the plot, so check your trigger warnings. And a 5 chili pepper book, let's just be honest, this is all smut, no plot. We are just here for a good time. I'm going to be using my Leela journals again. Because I read over 26 books for the Bewitched Book Challenge in October, I really didn't read that much in November. I still read 5 books, but I definitely was a little over the reading. So this month I did a lot of really fun reads that didn't really fit into any category, but I just wanted to have fun. And the first one was Delivered to the Vyder by Ivy Sparks. This is her most recent release in the Monster Mates romance book, and I have to say this is the one that gets into the sex scenes really early. I'm not mad about it because it makes sense in context of the characters. We're introduced to Riven. Now, Riven is a Vyder, which is a species of giant monster spiders, and he's been living alone in a cave for years, weaving cloth and tapestries for money. Now, when the unveiling happens, his Mothman agent convinces Riven to learn technology. Computers, bought himself a brand new house. Now he's learning human dating customs from reality TV, and I'm pretty sure if you watch Love Island, you can see where the problem might be. His next lesson in technology is online shopping, and he decides to order himself pink fuzzy slippers. And that's how he meets June. June and her father run a delivery service deep into the back roads where normal delivery ends. When June arrives, she walks right into Riven's webs. She's startled to discover that she really enjoys the sensation of being tied up and at mercy. So when Riven arrives, he's already noticing a beautiful female caught in his web who is sending out receptive signals. So he does what all Vaders do. He tries to court her in his people's way, which is showing her that he can satisfy her like a mate would. But if you're okay with the spice starting early, Riven is actually such a sweetheart. He is completely devoted to finding and being a good mate. I mean, spreadsheets and everything based on his reality TV viewings. He's such a sweet cinnamon roll who tries so hard. However, if a slow burn is more your jam, then I think Bound to the Naga might be a better choice for you. But I personally really loved the Vyder. I'm sorry for the lighting that's going on in the next few clips. This day we were having major storms and the sky was constantly in and out of clouds, and when the sun was shining it was blood red. So I had to do a lot of lighting and color changing to get this passable, but if it's not perfect, I'm so sorry. It'll clear up in the next page, I promise. This book was such a joy to read, so I did give it 5 stars. I do think it is one of the better of her series. And for the spice rating, I gave it 4 chili peppers because the story is still very plot focused, but there is kink, and obviously the whole shibari tying up with the web is part of it, a very big part. So I gave it 4 chili peppers. I just recently purchased these stamps, so hopefully they'll make my journaling a little bit easier, but there's definitely a learning curve. I can't quite get them lined up perfectly yet, but little by little, I'm working on it. Okay, the next book I read is by Elsie Wilde. It's Coffee Magic for the Modern Witch, a practical guide to coffee rituals, divination readings, magical brews, latte sigil writing, and more. And I have to say, I am so happy with this purchase. I am so glad I bought it. I have plenty of tea magic books, so I thought this one was going to be almost identical but for coffee, and I was so wrong. This book went above and beyond. Elsie lists all of the magical correspondences related to coffee, which I had no clue that light, medium, and dark roast had different correspondences, which, I mean, it makes sense given that they have different creation methods. I also highly enjoyed the additional magic tricks and for a dash of magic sections. Being able to see a list of spells and rituals that would pair well together for each recipe was very helpful. And there were so many recipes and rituals in this book. I feel like Coffee Magic is a grimoire for coffee. So if you are a coffee addict and you really enjoy coffee, then I think this would be an excellent book for you. I plan on keeping it near my coffee pot and my coffee station. I was so inspired by this book that I've already made 1 grimoire page, and I have plans to make a few more. So if you haven't already, make sure to hop on over to the blog to the grimoire section and download that page for free. And because of how wonderful and how well thought out this book was, I'm giving it 5 stars. And since I brought up the grimoire section of my page, if this is your first time here, then you may not know, but I run a blog, and if you sign up for my newsletter on the homepage, you'll get a code in your email. Just enter that code into the grimoire section of the website, and you'll get unlimited access to free printables. That includes bullet journal layouts as well as grimoire pages. All I ask is you don't pin anything in my password protected site to Pinterest. Okay, the next book is my favorite book that I read in November, and that is X Marks the Stalker by K.N. Walter. Now, if you were a fan of Butcher and Blackbird, I think you are going to love this story. I was giggling so hard. Our main female character is Oakley, and she's an investigative journalist. After her mother and father are killed and framed, Oakley spends the rest of her life tracking down answers. She knows the mastermind behind it, but she can't prove it. The man has paid off the police force and politicians. She's out of options when she meets Xander. Xander is part of a secret high society club of killers called the Hemlock Society. He's cleaning up after one of his colleagues when Oakley arrives on the scene. She fascinates him from day one. Where other cops and reporters haven't made the connection, Oakley already knows a serial killer is at work. He listens as she works over the crime scene. She's not horrified, but she's intrigued. Unsure if she's a threat to his private society, Xander sets up bugs and cameras in her home, except he just falls deeper in love. I really loved the humor in this story, from her stress level candy organization, Xander cooking dinner for her secretly, to a fire ant attack. I was constantly laughing or crying, which is why I made this a Dutch door spread, just because there were so many quotes that I knew that I wanted to add on the page that I was making extra room just for the quotes. I also made this little doodle border to match the theme on the front of the book. And can I just say, I really loved that they finished off the bad guy and not just a fade to black. Like, I love it when the bad guy gets his just desserts. I was so happy to see that book 2 of the series is already out. I saw the cover of it, so I haven't grabbed it yet, but this means that all of the members are probably going to get their own book. So there's 6 Hemlock members, so I'm pretty sure there's going to be at least 6 books, and I am so excited. They are definitely going to be on my to be read list. I'm very proud of this little clip art that I made, and it's supposed to look like multiple folders in a journal, but I even put Oakley's name on it, and I made a little post-it note that tells her to refill up on gummy worms. I thought it was so cute. I had so much fun with this book, so of course I'm giving it 5 stars. And there were a lot of sex scenes, but it was still very much about the plot, and there was kink. So I'm going with 4 chili peppers. Okay, the next one is called Rescued by the Mothman by Sophia Nix. And I'm going to be honest, I saw Mothman and just instantly add to cart. I didn't even read the description or anything, and I kind of wish I did because it was only 83 pages, which is super duper duper short. I was not expecting that. We're introduced to Sable, who is a bounty hunter. The group he works for agrees to let him take a personal case when a human guard incites a riot that almost hurts his sister. He goes back east following the trail of the extremist guard when he gets a tip that the guard is sheltering with his sister Clarissa. Clarissa has no clue why her brother had a falling out with the family. No one would tell her. Now that their parents have died, she's the only one willing to offer him a warm bed. She's startled when a gigantic and stacked with muscles Mothman barges into her home uninvited to arrest her brother. This is the first book of the Monster Bounty Hunter series. However, she references all the characters from her previous series, so there was so many names and characters that you should already know, which made this very confusing. That's a pet peeve of mine. So that knocked this book down to a 3-star. And there's only one sex scene, and it's pretty vanilla, so we're going with 2 chili peppers. Now, the next book was an absolute joy to read. This is another one from my favorite author, Marina Simcoe, and it's part of my Holiday Tales series. So far, my absolute favorite all-time book of hers comes from this series, and it was Married to Krampus. But after this, My Family Day actually sneaks out in the #1 spot. Anna is working for a charity organization on Varan, and they travel to Tragul to help process grant requests to the citizens who need help after the war. She gets seated on the airplane next to her boss, Esfar. He's the perfect male. Handsome, kind, rich, but that's a problem for Anna because she's only been divorced for a year and vows not to get married again. But with the steep lack of females on Voran, Varanian males don't do casual. But the Ravel men on Traggle do. So she tries to put Esfar to the side and lands her eyes on Oren. But Esfar is not giving up without a fight. This was such a fun read. It is now my all-time favorite Marina Simcoe. So I am giving it 5 stars. And there were a couple of sex scenes, but the book was still very much plot driven. So I am giving it a 4 chili pepper out of 5. Okay, and now I'm going to add all of these books to my books read section at the beginning of the month. I'm definitely glad I decided to do a blank space instead of trying to make a list, because I was able to really modify things to fit all the books I read. I made my books a little bit bigger since I didn't read very much this month. Because I had an odd number of books, I had a weird blank space, so I decided to add this little sticker that was originally from Paper Trail Plans from the Foliage series, just like the rest of November's setup, just to add a little something there in that corner. Now comes the super fun part of setting up my October layout. I wanted something that was very festive and very fun, so I found these cute little watercolor Christmas Village houses for free online, and I will have these for download on the website if you want this page for your cover page. I am going to be keeping my books completed page very blank, and that's because I'm doing a lot of readathon challenges for December, and I don't know how many books and how much space that's going to take up. So I'll probably do the books completed header when I finish that page. I swear stickers are the bane of my existence. It was a total struggle bus trying to get these undone. I even had to pull out the tweezers. The first readathon that I'm going to be putting in the book is the Sails and Tales readathon by Manda Maid. And this one has two different ways that you can play. The first one is to look at the different prompts and read all the way down to become one specific character. You can be the captain, the pirate, or the mermaid. Or the second way to play is just to read all the books that you want and see which ones they fall under, and whichever group you have the most books in is what you are. And I think I'm going to go with that approach just because I really want to read what I want to read, and we'll just see where it goes from there. And then once you have read all your books, there's a bingo, and she gives you the separate prompts on stickers. So I printed those out, and then I'm going to randomly place them on the bingo board, and at the end of the month, we'll see if I get a bingo or not. The book's completed page isn't one of hers, but since I had to alter the original Sails and Tales document to fit my journal, I went ahead and just made a completed reads page for all the books that I finished for this specific readathon. Because I don't want to influence the bingo, I'm going to put all of these stickers face down and just draw them randomly to put on the board. Okay, now that Sails and Tales is all set up, it's time to set up the next one. I'm going to be joining Book Roast and traveling back to Aldea for the Lightfall. Lightfall is a wintertime readathon that happens in the city of Old Favor Pass, and you read books according to the shops in the area. And this year we also have a bingo card, and we will be doing a bingo according to which books you read. Now, as usual, I am definitely making things harder on myself. I decided that I wanted to make the map open up to the Lightfall stuff. So I'm making a flip out. I will admit I kind of got overwhelmed just because I didn't have much space on my desk. So there were a lot of cursing involved in this layout. And this year we had a new shop open up called Dovanthia's Flower Arrangements. And when she made the announcement, she did not update the map. So I waited a couple of days, and then I went on Photoshop and I put it in myself just because I wanted a completed map. After I filmed all of this and had my journal ready, she did come out with her own map, and Dovanthia's is in a different place slightly on her map, but mine's already done. So in my mind, this is canon. This is where Dovanthia's is going to be. So if you see that and you're like, wait, that's not where it is. Yeah, it is. Now, Lightfall only runs from December 15th to the 21st. So all the books that I will be reading for the Sails and Tales will be done on the outside of that week. And then I'll devote only the prompts for Lightfall on the 15th through the 21st. Because there's like 8 prompts, but only 7 days. So I'm going to be needing to really focus to get that one done. I decided to put the official Lightfall stuff in the center, which is the Lightfall Bingo and Dovanthia's flower arrangements. Now, the flower arrangements are the rewards you get from doing the Lightfall Bingo. As usual, I had to alter everything to fit my journal, so while I was at it, I went ahead and made an additional page, and this is just a check off where I can mark down the dates that I completed each of these bingo items, because some of the items on the bingo are not reading, but they're instead things that you want to do out and about in the real world. This additional page you see of Aldea News was originally made by Subito22, but I had to alter it to fit my journal. Yet again, if anybody needs anything for this size journal, just let me know. Okay, now we're going to do a final walkthrough, and I'm going to make sure to go real slow so you can take your time and look at the different pages. I hope you had fun, and I hope you saw some books that interest you. Let me know if you're doing any of the readathons in December. And if you're still watching, why don't you leave me a book emoji in the comments to let me know you made it this far. Give this video a big thumbs up to like, and if you're interested in more videos like this, consider hitting the subscribe button. And on the right hand side of the screen is a video that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. Love you! Bye!